Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Derek Harron.
Back with another review for you guys. This is yet another Netflix review, and so it's going to be yet another clipless review because I don't want another strike on the channel. Thank you very much, Santa Clarita Diet, spoiler review, and Netflix. Anyway, let's jump right into this new one, which is an action horror flick that, if Netflix did rate their properties, I would say has to be PG-13 at the most. But we got to watch Spectral finally. We did a trailer reaction of this a long time ago when it first got released in 2016, and we just never got around to it, or I never got around to it, and I finally did the other night. I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to watch this. It looks like just action stuff, action and horror mixed, and I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of that, so let's do it. And that's exactly what it was. So, Dirk, why don't you explain to everyone? Well, first, let's talk about our overall thoughts, and then you can go through the story. So,
Okay.
Again, it wasn't anything more than I thought. It was perhaps a little bit dumber than I thought it would be for a Netflix property, because they're usually pretty good about that. The logic was fairly specious at times, but it was still enjoyable enough. It was just okay. It didn't knock me over, but it didn't completely disappoint me either.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I thought visually it was really good. Like I thought the computer animation and everything was great. There wasn't really any stars in it. Basically no names for the most part. But I enjoyed it. It seemed more like a sci-fi movie than a horror movie when it comes down to it. But I enjoyed it. I think that there was times where I was just kind of looking at my phone because it got boring at some points.
Yeah.
Where they had to kind of explain things to you, and you're just like, whatever. I'm not gonna fact check this. So.
Yeah. So essentially, the story is we start off with a military man who's in this war zone.
Right.
That has this lens, and he spots what looks like a ghost, a spectral form of some kind. And when he sees it, he raises the thing. He can't see it without it.
Right.
And he lowers the thing, and it's there. And then it rushes him, and it basically blows through him, immediately killing him and dropping him to the ground and sapping him of his life force and all this.
Yeah, they go on to say that like it freezes your insides and everything.
Like hyper freezes, it's super fast.
So
and so they essentially, the military has to call in the expert who is the one who designed these goggles.
Yeah.
In order to spot these things, and because apparently they've never been violent before, or there have been things like this, right? But not quite exactly like it.
There was I guess there was sightings, and they assumed it was some kind of cloaking technology, because this movie takes place in like the near future.
Right.
They actually talk about how like there was a World War III and everything, and so they're using like this new kind of technology where I think it almost seems like it's like a heat sensor in a sense.
Yeah, it's a different version of heat vision.
But it's like it's more energy based, and so that's how they're able to capture these like almost ghost like things.
It seems like it would be another setting on the Predator's visor.
Yeah, yeah, almost.
But yeah, so this happens, and he gets called in, and he has to accompany this group of military people into the zone to try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And he designs a specific light that allows them to sort of spot it. Is that right?
Well, that's later on. Actually, he just develops like a bigger camera.
A camera,
at
right.
first to capture, because that was basically their mission, was to capture these images of these things, and then I think that they end up getting kind of like roped into another mission where they have to like there's this group of soldiers that have either been like taken down by the enemy, or they don't know, like they can't find them.
Right.
And so then they end up having to go and locate these soldiers.
Yeah.
And
that's when they encounter the things themselves, and that's kind of where it gets good, where the soldiers immediately start trying to shoot this thing that is, again, spectral, so it cannot be shot, and it just starts blowing through people. It's like, imagine if the Flash was running around the whole building, phasing through people, and if he phased through them, they would die instantly. And it's kind of cool, the effects, because as soon as it rushes through someone, you see this blue puff of like smoke around them, and they just like fall lifeless and stuff. And so it was really cool. And then eventually, like, the soldiers are like pulled out, you know, like it's very much like Aliens, where the crew goes in and there's the base, you know, back in the vehicle kind of thing, and they're like, okay, pull them out now, and then as they're pulling out, the thing is still like chasing them down and killing them all even outside the building, and it was really cool.
Oh, it's funny that you bring up Aliens, because there's that one point when they find those 2 Russian kids, and it almost feels like they're Newt, because like they've survived this whole time. Like they're in this war zone, and like anybody that goes in there gets killed by these things. But these kids have learned to survive, and then that's when they point out that like. They surrounded the area with iron. And I guess
iron shavings.
Iron shavings, and so that's how they were able to keep the Spectral out. And
that's kind of cool too, because you see the Spectral trying to walk through it over and over again, and when they do, it starts to affect them and like lock them in place, like they've been chained to the ground. And that plays a part later, you know. So essentially, when they find these kids, they end up holding up in this building to try and defend themselves, because it's the only safe place against these things, and they have to figure a way to stop them or fight them.
Well, actually, they
ever correct me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, they get in contact with the guys, and then they say like, well, the drop zone where we can pick you up is like a half a mile away.
A few clicks away,
And so they have to figure out a way. Because actually all their visors have been broke, and like and so they're like, oh, well, what are we gonna do? And so he still has that like huge camera,
massive camera,
and he ends up like
that they somehow attach to a tank with one like bar that he pulls out, and suddenly it's free. But whatever, we won't focus on that.
Well, there's a lot of weird science in this movie.
A lot of convenient science.
Convenient science. Like he's this like master builder, and like
literally, you can cobble together shit just in a Lego movie.
What he does is he takes the camera and then he turns it into a spotlight to where like you can view the Spectral.
You can, if the light's shining on them, you can see the Spectral thing. But it casts a real wide thing, so like you can have the military guys around you and shine it and see like 40 feet across, but they have to be like 20 feet away in order to see that.
Instead of some one person looking through the camera.
Exactly.
So,
and that became a little convenient, because it was just like, okay, we just need to have him generally pointing in this area if we're going to show the Spectral person, you know. So that became about production logistics.
Well, and then they create those dirty bombs too. Where they fill it up with the shards of iron, and so they're throwing them, and then they use them as like for a grenade launcher.
Because they still don't have a weapon against them until they discover the iron shards thing. The grenade launcher of iron shards grenades is really cool.
That was pretty cool too.
But that's the thing; it wouldn't like destroy them outright. It would just lock them in place for a minute. It was kind of cool.
So
I mean, then it's how do they survive, and how many of them survive, and do they survive, and what happens to the Spectral after that, and. It was pretty good. It was enjoyable, but it was pretty surface level. If I had to give it a description that was pretty apropos, just surface level. What about you?
You know, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but once again, it's not like a big blockbuster type of movie. There's some great fight sequences in it and war battles, but like. For the most part, there was just a lot of explanation. On how like we can do this and we can do that, and like this is what we're gonna have to do, and like it just kind of got boring with them just talking about it. And I thought that none of the characters really stood out. Like you didn't really feel bad like when one of them got taken out or anything. No one was really memorable. Even like when. The one girl that's in it, that's like a scientist, like they say that she's such a hard ass at the very beginning, and you're just like,
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, like I don't know. There was just like maybe one scene where she was a little tough on somebody, and then like the rest of the time she's like screaming and like and ends up becoming the mother figure for like these two Russian kids.
Character inconsistencies.
Yeah, I don't know. So I enjoyed it, but like it's a forgettable movie.
Yeah. It's nothing that you're gonna kick yourself for missing in the long run, but if you want to see an interesting experiment in action and horror, then this is a good one for you. But again, if it were rated, it would be PG-13 because there's not gore at all.
I thought that the battle at the end was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, there was some really great shots. It almost, like, felt like a video game. Mm-hmm. That was the thing about this movie, is, like, I'd rather play a video game version of this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Than actually watch a movie about it.
Although it feels like it might be over relatively quickly if you die as easily as you do in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, the first one you see, whoosh, game over. Like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, well, it'd almost be kind of like GoldenEye, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Where you just have the golden gun.
Except it would be 00 agent mode, like the hard mode, you know?
Yeah, like one hit and you're dead.
Yeah,
so basically,
like
mode.
Yeah, one shot. Yeah, exactly. So there you go, guys. That's going to do it for our thoughts on Spectral. Watch it at your own risk, but if you're into action, horror, PG-13 level stuff that's not super deep, hey, you might like it.
Yeah. It was entertaining.
So if you have seen it, let us know in the comments down below. If you haven't, let us know if this is going to sway you one way or another. But until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
I've been Dirk Harron.
And remember, stay scared.